sentenced to life with a busted heart. And I'm still waiting to hear the charge. I pray to God in heaven, forget the devil instead. Well, I don't think I'll get out of here.
This is what you dream about.
I'm not ready to stop.
And now, moviegoers, I'd like to introduce you to one of the co-presidents of the Nightly News Media Club, Tyler Coleman, who's going to share some information about the club and this project. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you, Janet. Yes, starting out, I want to emphasize that I am the co-president, just because I don't want to leave out the person that I share that title with. I'm proud to say that he is one of the people we are honoring today, Christian Fulp. Christian, thank you for all the hard work that you've done alongside me and to help the club moving forward. I really appreciate that. Being a member of the Nightly News Media Club really was one of the best parts of being a student at Central Penn. We as club members had the opportunity to gain a lot of experience. For me, it was broadcasting the sporting events, getting to perform different podcasts, and we even had each student would write at least 1 or 2 stories every semester, and we would have them published in our quarterly publications. Each member has the opportunity to cover any event that they want that takes place on campus, and they can speak about whatever they like. It's not just about sports, pretty much anything that they choose. I really think that no matter when you go to college, where you go to college, there really is at least one person or a group of people who help influence you and help you want to become a better person. And for me, I can easily say that that was the Nightly News Media Club. From everyone from Professor Miller, who was there by my side, who was helping teach me in these learning experiences. I've also been able to become friends with guys like Christian, Parker Rose, Brian Christiana. These are guys that I think I can be friends with for the rest of my life. So I want to thank you guys for everything that you've done for me. Brian was actually the president before myself, so I had some pretty big shoes to fill. I was honored when Professor Miller asked us to be a part of this documentary, just because I thought that this was going to be a great opportunity to help show off how good the 2020 Knights baseball team really was. Getting to not only broadcast the games, but performing interviews with each player and writing the game articles, I had the privilege to get to know all 4 of the senior players and really get to know that they're not just good baseball players, but they're great people off the field as well. Broadcasting these games has been a joy for me, and I think I can say it was a joy for all of us who are involved doing it. And it was a lot of fun this season, getting to go to the field, watching you guys play some exciting baseball and win games. You know, with that being said, I'm sorry that this whole COVID situation, took part. It was out of our hands, but it was still a tough situation for everybody involved. I remember playing high school sports and walking onto the field for my last game my senior year. And it's a tough feeling. It's something that's hard to accept, but I can't even imagine how tough it was for you guys to have the game pulled away from you as quickly as it was. And you couldn't do anything about it. So I think I speak for everyone with the club at the college that it would be awesome if you guys could come back and play next season, depending on what the USCAA rules. If you guys don't come back with whatever you choose to do, with whatever you do, moving on with your life, we wish you guys nothing but success and happiness in whatever you choose to do. And I really hope that this documentary will help show everyone just how good of a team you really were this year. So with that being said, now I would like to introduce everyone to the film creator, Professor Paul Miller.
Tyler, that was very kind. I appreciate your words, but to be honest with you,
we couldn't have done this without you. What I really want to start by talking about today, obviously I'm going to talk about the film, but I really want to talk about where our athletics broadcasting came from. About 3 years ago, myself, Brian Christiana, and Ian Kemmerer started down a path to bring athletics broadcasting here to Central Penn. We had a wonderful person, Jerry Biller Sr., who donated money so we could afford the equipment. And from there on out, it's been a learning experience over the last 3 years. The last 3 years, we've been calling games here at Central Penn. We've been doing the home games, and things have been going much better year after year. We branched out into basketball and soccer. But I got to tell everybody, this is just our little secret here tonight. Baseball is my true love. I played baseball all of my life, and even waited when I was at Slippery Rock University, and finally when I was a senior had the opportunity to call games when I was there. I've never stopped loving baseball, and even though my career path didn't necessarily take me into sports, what it did is down the line, because of the experiences that I had, we had this opportunity to start something here at Central Penn. And one of the things that's really stood out to me is when throughout this whole process, I was talking to Casey, and I'd mentioned to her that, you know, I was so proud of what on my team, and it's not me, you know, I'm there, but it's my team. It's Brian, it's Tyler, it's Parker. Christian's helped us with basketball, and we have Tyreen and other guys that are part of the club that are helping us. And it just means so much to me that I'm able to have some part of my job be to call sports. I love sports. I still love sports to this day. But the one thing that really stood out to me was when I was talking to Casey, and she'd mentioned that she'd had several of our opposition ask her what we were doing, where we were broadcasting to. And to the best of my knowledge, we're the only team, college in our entire conference that broadcasts their games live. And so the fact that just a few years ago, this hadn't even been thought of really brings so much pride to me when I look back at this, and I look back at this experience that we have the opportunity to call these games, and really for the college and for the family members of our players. Like, I know so many of the players are not necessarily from around the Harrisburg area. They're able to tune in and watch their kids anywhere all over the world. James Taylor is from Australia. His family can watch live on YouTube to his starts both this season and going forward. And it's just so special to us. And we just get such wonderful feedback, all of us that have been involved in this. So it's truly a dream of a lifetime that I get to broadcast and be the voice of Central Penn athletics, you know, baseball, basketball, and even soccer. I will say that tonight really came from probably about 6 months ago, before we even knew what COVID was. What happened was in the spring, as many of you may know, I was scheduled to do A League of Their Own as part of the CPC Film Series. This is one of the things that I've been so passionate about since my time here. One of the fondest memories and experiences of my career was when I got to present The Big Lebowski on campus to about 50 of my really good Lebowski lovers back in 2018. And, you know, even before that, I've always been part of the planning, along with Jared Rife, Diane Porterfield, Michael Lear-Limpy, Adrian Thome, and Janet Bixler, and several other people that are involved in this project. And so, unfortunately, the CPC Film Series, A League of Their Own, was postponed due to COVID. And it was so sad because we had already talked to, I work with a local little league called Challenger Baseball. I've been a head coach there for 5 years. And we were going to get some of the kids with special needs to come, and they were all super excited. And we had, you know, I'd already talked to Coach Stern, and a lot of the players were going to be there to sign autographs and play catch. I mean, it was going to be an amazing day. And unfortunately, that day was taken away from us due to the pandemic. That said, we were going to postpone it to the summer. Well, guess what? That was postponed as well. So we've had a void in the CPC Film Series since January. When we were trying to think about what to do, it really just kind of made sense. I was in a production class, and I'll get into that in a moment, but I was in a production class, and I said, you know what? I'm making a movie, let's show it. It's about the college, so let's keep the CPC Film Series going virtually. And we do certainly hope that we're going to be able to continue in fall and going forward with our quarterly film series. That's a wonderful opportunity for people in our community and our students, faculty, and staff to have a nice, free, fun evening on campus. So I certainly hope that going forward, you consider being a part of the film series when we continue that. So what I'd like to do is kind of walk you through the whole process of this film. I am, for those of you who may not know, although I'm sure most of you here know me, I have been over the past year, I've completed my first year at Indiana University of Pennsylvania in the Communications, Media, and Instructional Technology PhD program. I have to tell everyone, it has been one of the most difficult years of my life. Obviously, my job is demanding, and I love it for that. But having a family and trying to have some semblance of a social life and going for a PhD, as anyone who's ever gone through that can tell you, is not easy. But what I will say is it's been so rewarding and it's been wonderful, and I've enjoyed it as much as humanly possible. So in the winter or the spring term that started in January, I was taking a class called pre-production. That fed into a summer class called production. And so basically since January, I've been planning what I'm about to present to all of you today. It's been a 6-month-long process. What I can tell you is I learned so much about how to do documentaries. It is so intensive, it's grueling, there's so much to it. And I think that one of the things that I really did learn is the importance of planning. Because you can plan and plan and plan, and things still will not go correctly, as I'll share with you. My initial thoughts pre-COVID were I wanted to do something baseball themed. I'd pitched a couple of, so part of our pre-production class was to go through the pitch process that you would if you were a filmmaker that was trying to get, financed to pay for your film. And I'd come up with a couple of really cool baseball stories, but the bottom line was it wasn't anything that really spoke to me. Well, when COVID hit, I was still in the middle part of this process, and I went to my professor and I asked him, I pitched this story about how 4 seniors who I have worked with, Christian Fulp, I had this kid for his first ever class here at Central Penn College, and I'll never forget that. Connor and I have become close over the past couple years. Max I've known for a long time. I've known these kids for years, and I apologize that I'm calling you kids. I know you're adults, but you're kids to me for the purposes of this film. To see them go through everything they've gone through, struggling the last couple of seasons right around 500. I mean, this was the year. You want to talk about a dream team. To have senior leadership from Christian and Connor and Freddie and Max, to having such a great crop of incoming freshmen like Hayden Fox, and to still have an anchor at first base like Chris Rosario. I mean, this was the team to beat. And it is, in the end, so sad that this was taken away from them. With that being said, my goal for this whole picture here was to not have it be sad. And I want everybody to know that I went into this to try to figure out a way to have some kind of a happy ending. I know that when you think about it on the surface, it was very difficult for me to come up with an ending that fit this story. And I hope that you think that I did that. As part of my pre-production process, beyond the pitch that it was accepted when I pitched this to my professor, I had to write a screenplay. One thing that I found very interesting is when you write a screenplay, each page is 1 minute. So for example, this film was 10 minutes. I had to write a 10-page screenplay. Well, my biggest problem was my screenplay was like 15, 20 pages. So unfortunately, that seemed to be the issue I kept running into. From the screenplay to the film itself, it was always just too much that I wanted to get in. So for those of you who might ask, why is this only 10 minutes? That's an unbelievably valid question, and a question I asked myself. And the response to my professor, Jeremy Waltman, who is also a director, you can look him up on IMDb. He's got several shorts and full-length films, which you can check out on Amazon. I'm just so lucky I got to work with him. His response was, you know, when you're an aspiring filmmaker and you make your first film, nobody's going to give you the money for a feature-length film. What you have to do is scrimp and save every dollar you can get to make that first film, to show what you can do, and then producers might consider giving you money. So he said it's pretty industry standard for a first film to be a short. If you look back to people like Christopher Nolan and Quentin Tarantino, if you look back, their first films, certainly maybe not the most well-known ones, were short films as well. So that kind of made sense to me. That being said, I'd already been in planning for doing something a little more grand before I found out that it was only supposed to be 10 minutes. And in fact, I enlisted Connor and Christian and Max and Casey Hicks, the athletic director, Bob Stern, as well as my broadcast crew to all do interviews, and as well as Dr. Linda Fedrizzi-Williams, and having all of the game footage to go through. With all of the game footage, which is about 20 hours, and all of the interviews, which is about 10 hours, I probably have about 30 hours of footage that I had to shrink down to 10 minutes, which was very difficult. So beyond the script, I also had to do a lookbook, which is basically, I don't want to call it a brochure, but it's a few pages that I will certainly post online after this so you can all see it, that I would go to a producer potentially and, you know, show them so they might be interested in investing in a movie. That was very complex because I'm not a graphic designer, but I think it turned out very well. I also had to come up with a trailer. So the trailer that I turned in my pre-production class is a version of what you saw to start off the show. Obviously, I had to make some changes. The production itself was rocky. I had everything planned. I had all the releases. That's another thing. You have to get releases for everyone and everything. Every place I shot the film needed a release. Every person in the movie needed a release. Music in the movie needed a release. So once I got that, turned in my project, then it was time to start shooting. Well, I have a very good friend, Nate Kresge, who works with GK Visual in Harrisburg, and he is their video production company, do amazing work. You can check out Port and PA. It's a documentary. It's won multiple awards. Nate's just a great friend of mine. So we're in the middle of the stay-at-home orders, and I received permission from In the Net, which is where on the picture you can see in the background, that's where the Knights play their home games. And In the Net was fine with having us take a drone out to get some drone shots, which you also saw in the trailer. Well, wouldn't you know it, In the Net is right next to an airport. And it just so happened that that day, a plane was flying in while we had the drone up. So the cops came by and made sure that we weren't doing anything we shouldn't have been doing. So I'm sitting here thinking, as I see the cops driving up in the lot, like, are you kidding me? This is my first shot of this film. I hope this isn't a bad omen. But no, they were just making sure that we weren't doing anything wrong. And obviously we had permission from the venue to do so. So it was fine. You know, the second thing happened, and I can tell you right now that Brian and Tyler and some of the other guys that were there helping me, the camera that I used for every game never have had an issue. Wouldn't you know it, as soon as I show up, I had it's kind of staggered that we obviously are cognizant of COVID. We didn't want any more than a couple of people. We filmed over at Christian's house. So I had a schedule, a very tight schedule of when people were going to come and how I was going to record. Wouldn't you know it, the camera didn't work. So I end up shooting this entire film on my Samsung Galaxy S10, which, by the way, Samsung, you know, your newer phones all shoot in 4K video. So while not perfect, it was, I think everything turned out pretty well. I do and have learned a lot by doing this, and I certainly hope that in the future that, when I make another documentary, I at least bring 2 cameras, and hopefully I won't ever have to worry about filming in a stay-at-home order ever again. But I got to tell you, it was a very long process. I do want to give one quick shout out to another one of my very good friends by the name of Colt Wilbur from the Colt Wilbur Band. They have graciously, now I've worked with Colt for several years. I've helped him with his marketing and social media. And I have to give a big shout out to him because he's one of the biggest local bands in the South Central Pennsylvania area, plays really all over the state of PA, Maryland, up and down the East Coast. Several of his songs are featured in the film. All of the music is from Colt, and I certainly hope that you all check out Colt Wilbur Band, and you can go to coltwilbur.com to listen to some more of his music. So at the end, mainly I just want to thank everyone. Again, we were on a stay-at-home order in the height of COVID when this was filmed, really mid to late May when this was filmed. So not only do I appreciate everyone's time, I appreciate everybody's willingness to brave the pandemic, to be a part of this project. And I honestly must say that it was one of the most memorable days, even with the camera not working, the opportunity to get to frankly see everybody for the first time since, COVID-19 hit. And it was a wonderful, wonderful day. It was a beautiful day outside. We filmed some B-roll over at a local baseball field, and just to catch back up and reminisce. We even threw some of the old games on while we took a lunch break. I got to tell you, everyone that was involved, it's a day I'll never forget. So I really don't want to belabor the point. I do want to just point out one thing. After the film, now again, the film's only 10 minutes. After the film, as Adrian's also mentioning in the chat, we do have a Q&A section at the bottom. We really encourage you to type in some questions. We're going to have about a 20-minute Q&A, and we need you to ask some questions to the panelists. So on the panel will be Dr. Linda Fedrizzi-Williams, the stars of the movie, Christian Falk, Connor Graham, Max Thorpe, also head coach Robert Stern, athletic director Casey Hicks, and of course myself and the Nightly News broadcast team, Brian Christiana, Parker Rose, and Tyler Coleman. So please, during the film, throw your questions up in the Q&A, and then once the film is over, please send any and all questions in. But without further ado, we're going to be seeing for the first time The Final Out, a documentary by Paul Miller. So I enjoy and appreciate so much you all being here. I hope you enjoy the show.
The final score of this game is going to be 18-7 in favor of Central Penn College. Again, it's been an honor these past 3 years to call baseball.
Good team wins today, 7-1 overall victory, and we'll look forward to being back here at the next game.
It will always be in my heart to want to play the game.
They never played for themselves. They always played for the team.
Why's it got to end when you're finally, all these years you worked for, to then just stop?
Faced with concerns and uncertainties over COVID-19 and the impact the disease could have on its games, business, players, coaches, and fans, the USCAA has suspended the 2020 season until further notice. This was much to the dismay of the Central Penn College baseball team, which had its best start in school history, going 7-1 to date.
Athletics is vital to the college. It's an integral part of what we do and who we are. It's the fabric of our being in the sense of bringing pride to the college, cheering on our team, togetherness, excitement. Those are all things that athletics bring.
Started in the off season. From first day of practice. It was just there. First day of practice, I mean, it was just like nobody clowned around. You know, we came with a determination that we wanted to have a good season.
Welcome, everybody, to the 2020 Central Penn College men's baseball season. This is Paul Miller, and I'm going to be joining you on the call today with my main man, Brian Cristiano. Brian, welcome back to the broadcast here for another season of Knights baseball.
Well, thanks, Miller. It's good to be here. It's a great Sunday afternoon here in Palmyra, and it looks like our team is ready to get back out there.
Central Penn College, anchored by some returning seniors this year.
It felt good to be on a team that everybody got along, everyone wanted to be there, everyone was supportive, and the energy was there. Most energy on a team that I've ever played on.
And Cam Woodward, also a lefty. And there goes one lady.
Wow.
And that is going to be out of here. Connor Graham over the monster. And that's going to make it 2-0 Central Penn. And that's the first home run on the season for Connor Graham. And all the things that we'd said about him, pretty amazing.
Connor Graham just continues to show the Central Penn family how good he is. I mean, that was just a shot to left field.
To just know that this season was going to be a good season, it's just like an omen. It's like, all the work has paid off. It's going to be another great season.
And we are going to start it off. Christian Fulp, somebody who both you and I know quite well, is taking the mound here for the Knights on this afternoon.
He had an 8.90 ERA last year, so I think he would tell both of us that he could do a little bit better this year. So we'll be pulling for him.
It's important because it shows that he had faith in me, even if I wasn't pitching that well last year at the end or whatever, how I was doing, he still had faith in me. So I just wanted to go out there and do what I can to help the team win. And Hayden pitched an amazing game the first game, so I figured I had to come right back and give us another good game.
Christian struggled early, allowing 5 runs in the first 2 innings, but battled back to go 5 scoreless and pitching a complete game. Connor Graham will come to the plate with a chance to tie this game with a base hit, to win this game with a home run. This is what you dream about. Bottom 7, 2 down, and all you need is a home run to walk it off. And he's already hit one today, out to left. A base hit, though, will tie this ball game.
2-run homer to win this game would be such a Connor Graham thing to do.
And that one's deep to right center, but caught. And that will do it. Wow. I got to tell you that the Knights gave it their all there to try to help Christian Fulp get this victory.
Had I hit it and had it landed, I would have been a hero. So I did what I thought was best for me in the situation and for the team. Well, I didn't come through.
The Knights swept a doubleheader on Wednesday against Penn State Hazleton. They picked up the victory in Game 1 by a score of 4-3, and in Game 2 by a score of 10-2. In the second game, Christian Fulp had a major injury scare. Graham skies a shot to deep center, but the catch is made. That will get a run home. Great slide by Fulp. And the sacrifice fly from Graham. That'll be an RBI.
I think I had a lazy ground ball in the infield that I wanted to beat out like always. So I was running extra fast and lunged at first base, and I tweaked it, and it was not the same for the rest of the remainder of the season. So, and then I re-aggravated it again, sliding into home plate a game after that. So it was just, I am a complete, total competitor, and I would never come out of the game unless I can't walk or I can't literally play the game. You kind of have to take me off with a stretcher or something. But
after winning the first game of the doubleheader, the Knights continued to pile it on in the second game, thanks to a 2-run home run by Hayden Fox and 2 RBI from Connor Graham. Even senior Freddie Barr got in on the action. And he strokes it to left, and that's a fair ball. That's going to roll all the way to the wall. The Knights continued their winning ways with another pair of victories against arch rival Valley Forge, winning the first game 20-4, thanks to a big game by Connor Graham and Chris Rosario, and the second game 14-1. This took their record to an all-time program best 5-1 mark.
I got some feedback from other players. One was actually Quentin Heckard, which I played with last year. He told me I'm better than these kids. He's literally said it just like that. He was like, you don't have to throw the hardest you can to beat these kids. I learned that if I don't, because if I can't, then I'll just still be successful because I'm doing what I got to do.
Second time around, I think he wanted to give him like a little redemption because knowing Christian, I know his standards are high. And that first game wasn't where he wanted it to be.
Christian Fulp pitched a stellar game, one of the best of his career, pitching a complete game, allowing only 1 hit and 1 walk while striking out 6.
Throws it to Rosario at first, and he gets him. So we're going to go to the bottom of the 6th. Christian Fulp is dealing, and the score is Central Penn College 5, Williamson Trade 0.
That game by Christian's probably the best I've seen him play.
The Knights had gotten off to an amazing 7-1 start, anchored by seniors Christian Fulp and Connor Graham. It was during this time, though, that the COVID-19 pandemic was becoming a real threat to the safety and security of our nation. By March 11th, the United States had 696 confirmed cases, ballooning to 3,509 by March 17th.
I did still, have my hopes set on, okay, we're still going to be back on the field in, 2-3 weeks. Unfortunately, what started happening was other athletic directors were reaching out to me. Most of the other institutions who are in a conference were only going to continue with their conference games. So that left us with 4 games left if we were able to come back.
For this pandemic that came above, it's just heartbreaking that they had a shot to probably take it all the way.
Again, you have a loaded group of seniors that really contributed over the past couple of years to see that all just go away for them. I mean, it was very disappointing, very sad.
To see the season end abruptly like that, it was hard to watch, especially for the senior players involved.
So what's most devastating is knowing that this could be the last time they play at this level.
This season was difficult to swallow. From each of the seniors who walked off of the field for the last time, to other members of the team who trained all year for this opportunity, to the coaches who recruited this team for a dream run, to the commentators who put the broadcasts on. Baseball legend Yogi Berra once spoke, "You've got to be very careful if you don't know where you are going because you might not get there." In understanding the mentality of the seniors, they may have felt hopeless as the season came to a close, but in the end, they've used this as a learning experience.
I wouldn't say I'm at peace because I know that baseball is my first love. I've played it since I was 4, like I said, so it'll always be in my heart to want to play the game. So I feel like the most I could do now is live on through my daughter and hope that she wants to play sports. Not necessarily baseball or softball or whatever, but anything she wants to compete in, I'll live on with my competitive nature through her.
Go work, but still it be long enough so I can get at least one more season of baseball. And I'm not ready to stop. I'm the best I've ever been. All this hard work, all these years, I'm going to let it be cut short. I would regret not continuing to play baseball again.
Honestly, I just look forward to, one day coaching, and I plan on getting into that very soon. I want to be a coach and support people.
While COVID-19 has extinguished the hopes and dreams of the 2020 Central Penn Knights and what could have been, the game of baseball will forever be America's national pastime. For these seniors, they may have played their final out, but the game will burn forever inside of them and on to future generations of baseball players.
I've been sentenced to life with a busted heart, and I'm still waiting to hear the charge. I pray to God in heaven, forget the devil instead. Well, I don't think I'll get out of here alive. This 10 by 10 might be where I die in a heavy heart stone, chained to my bone.
And now, moviegoers, Professor Paul Miller, our documentary creator, will come back on the screen for a Q&A, and will include our players, our production staff, broadcasting staff, and President Linda Fedrizzi. So, Paul, take us away with the Q&A.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for the very kind words. Before we're done, all of these are available on YouTube, so I'll make sure everyone has the link. So if you want to watch it again or cast it to your TV or something like that, you'll be able to do that. And obviously, you'll be able to watch this forever. And I told you that 10 minutes goes by so fast. It's just unbelievable when I think about the amount of time I put into that. But at this, I had enough time to talk, and certainly you're welcome to ask me any questions. But really, what I'd like you to do is kind of ask, the rest of the panelists, the stars of the movie, some questions. They're all here. We do have 6 questions in the Q&A. So I'm going to try to read some of these, and I'm going to try to get to everybody's. So please, if you have questions, please go down to the bottom Q&A, and I'm going to get to each and every one of them. So we have about 20 minutes for Q&A. So I'm going to start down. Let's see. Professor Jared Reif would like to hear the reaction from the players after watching this for the first time. So I'm going to go to Christian first. Christian, do you want to pop on and answer that question for Professor Reif? What were your feelings watching this just now?
Hey, everybody, I'm here. So what I would like to say is that was truly amazing. I was expecting a great documentary from the start, but after seeing it cut down and chopped up and everything and all put together, it was more than I could ever imagine, and I'm truly grateful to be a part of it.
Well, I'm grateful that you were a part of it, Christian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Connor, what were your thoughts on the documentary?
I thought it was an awesome experience to be a part of it. I never thought that I would have ever been a part of something like this. I grew up watching History Channel documentaries with my father, so I always thought it was pretty cool. People are sitting there talking, spitting out, what they know about the topic. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. Happy to talk about something that I've always been passionate about, and just very thankful that you decided to choose to do this, Paul. Thank you.
Not a problem, sir. I appreciate you. You probably had to travel the farthest to be there, so I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come up and join us. Max, what were your thoughts about the documentary?
First thing I would like to say is I think it was so well put together, and I for sure, years on, this is something I'm going to go back to and kind of replay, my kids, grandkids, be that kind of grandpa and whatever down the line. That's definitely going to happen. This is something I'm proud of, and I got really into it as, we started going. You're going through these games. All of a sudden, we're 7-1, and then it's over. So that's always going to affect us. But it was just well put together. I'm so thankful for it. So.
I appreciate that, and I certainly appreciate your efforts too. You're awesome during the filming. All right, next question is, let's see, we're going to go to Crystal. In one of the interviews, Connor mentions an energy with this team/season that he hadn't felt or experienced before. So I was wondering what made this team and season so different than past seasons in his opinion. Connor?
So I've been playing baseball since I was 4 years old. Been a part of a lot of teams. I've been to 3 different colleges to play college baseball, played internationally. So I've been a part of a lot of teams with hundreds of guys. And just, you could tell, as Stern mentioned in the first practice, none of the everyone was there 100%, a lot of determination, desire, drive. Everybody was hungry. Everybody wanted to do something big. You could tell the guys were there to win. They were working hard. Everybody got along. There's a lot of teams, about half of the teams I've played for, you get egos. You get guys who can't, subscribe to the same point of view and subscribe to trying to win. It's so, Johnny's playing first and I should be playing first. there wasn't any of that going on this season. Everybody was driven to the same goal of trying to win every single game and do what it takes, do your job to achieve that. And that's what really stood out to me, is that doesn't happen often, at least the teams I've not played, I've played on, but I feel like the other guys can even, vouch for me on that.
Thank you, Connor. All right, next question. There's someone here for me. I don't want to take too much time, but I do want to address these questions. One of them was from Professor Reif, who asked, what was something that I left out that was the hardest choice for me to make? The biggest issue that I had was that my professor said this movie must be 10 minutes, not 9:59, not 10:01. It must be 10 minutes. And I got to tell you, there was so much. I mean, just the fact that I was only able to get people like Parker and Brian and Tyler, who interviewed with me 15, 20 minutes, took time out of their day to only get them in for a few seconds. It was just heartbreaking. And I tried to get the players in as much as I could, but I really, really wish we could have had more. But I will get back to that question and kind of finish that answer in just a little bit. I kind of have a little surprise for everyone before we get out of here. One question that I have and then I'm going to get back to some of the Q&As, is I want to bring on Dr. Fedrizi and Athletic Director Casey Hicks. Recently and unfortunately, the USCAA announced that they were going to be postponing fall sports at the college. And I just wanted to get from Dr. Fedrizi and from Casey Hicks what your thoughts and feelings were when that decision was communicated to you. I'll start with Dr. Fedrizi.
Thanks, Paul, and congratulations. This was really wonderful to watch all your work come together. It's such a tough thing because you understand where these conferences are coming from, but at the same time, you recognize what sports brings, not just to the students, but to the college and the other students and the participants and the camaraderie. And there's a void right now with lack of sports. I mean, I remember when you were filming this and you and I met, we were talking about the Michael Jordan documentary because it was the first real sports footage that we could watch again. And I binge watched every time that it came out. So when there is that lack of sports, it's really tough for everybody on the college campus. And I'm going to let Casey speak to what she's doing with the athletes. But the bottom line is we brought some of our athletes back anyway on August 1st, and it was intentional, and it's for our soccer teams, men's and women's. And we're working on building them and building their development, and there's still team building, and it doesn't take away from the family that you are joining together with these people that you are on a team with. So it's all about extended time for the camaraderie and getting ready to play in the spring. But Casey, I'll let you talk a little bit about specifics.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Fedrizi and Paul. The documentary was awesome. I can't wait to see the extended versions as well. I think for me, the initial reaction to suspending fall sports was all I could remember. I don't know how many of you have been back on campus, but if you walk into the underground, and maybe one of the players will admit this right now, but there's in the lounge, there's writing all over the chalkboard that says, "Don't cancel baseball, keep baseball." And as we were coming to make this decision for the fall sports, all I could picture was these signs from the baseball team that was all over campus. And I knew it was not what anybody wanted. Like Dr. Fedrizi said, it's just a void. You know, these students come to college, they want this experience, and athletics is a big part of it for our student athletes. It's where they become engaged, they buy in, and we really truly do become a smaller family, even closer knit amongst our larger family at Central Penn. So It was a really tough decision. And as soon as I realized that fall sports weren't going to be able to, fly, I reached out to Adrian, and I was like, we had to figure out some type of way to keep these students engaged and get them here, because it's special what we're able to offer. And I think you can hear that through, what Connor has said and what these guys are just feeling about losing baseball. So We are trying to keep our fall sports, the teams together on campus, and we're offering some fun engagement opportunities. It was really unfortunate. Men's and women's soccer, I know, are super bummed. We had a really great recruiting class for men's soccer that was excited to get started. And we were bringing back women's volleyball for the first time, and I'm not sure, maybe 3-4 years. So women's volleyball was excited to get going. And what we are going to end up doing is offering some fun recreational tournaments on campus. So we'll use our little outdoor areas. The sand volleyball court will offer some 3-on-3 volleyball tournaments. We are running a little 4-on-4 soccer league for our students just to keep them active together and building that bond amongst their team, which is the most important part. So it is a little bit of a setback, but if you look at it in the perspective of it allows our team to build and bond together a little bit longer before the spring season, it could end up being a benefit for us, and that's what we're hoping we're able to do. We're offering study halls and kind of focusing more on the academic side too. So it's definitely an opportunity to bond them a little bit more together and realize that it is even bigger than baseball or soccer or volleyball. It's, it's a family thing that we're building. And I think them coming to campus now and not being able to play, but realize they can bond in other areas is something that'll be special for them in the long run.
And thank you too for sharing those thoughts. I mean, that was definitely one thing I wanted to talk about because that was a relatively new thing that happened on campus, and I just kind of wanted to let everybody know, and I appreciate you chiming in there. From Dr. Ellsworth, who is really the curator of the CPC Film Series and who really got this thing off the ground. So I really give Dr. Ellsworth a huge thanks for really, bringing this to the campus when we did, I believe, back in 2017, or was it 2016 that we've been doing this for quite some time. Dr. Ellsworth asked, when did I decide to make this? And how did the final product differ from what I intended to make at the start? Well, really, obviously I didn't intend to make this film prior to, it hadn't struck me at that point, but the biggest thing that changed was we were not as a class told that the documentary was 10 minutes until after I'd pretty much already shot the whole film. And so I got to say, if I knew it was only going to be 10 minutes, I probably would have scaled down the amount of footage I would have shot. But also, that being said, I think that it's important for me to let everybody know that this is not it. There's going to be more. And again, I'm going to share something with you in just a few minutes after we answer a couple of more questions. Madison asks a very good question that I had not thought of, just about if I would be willing to follow up on this in 5 years and see where all the guys are. And when they all are big leaguers, maybe we'll get some VIP tickets and can film that documentary. So I think that's really cool to ask that question, and certainly something I'll keep on my mind for sure, Madison. I've gotten several questions to the players about the future. So what's next? And so I know that there's sort of different variations of that question, but where does baseball fit into your future plans? Has the pandemic changed your career path? So I'd like to bring the players back and sort of address that question. Where does baseball fit in, and how has the pandemic impacted, your future? I'm going to start with Max. Max, do you want to field that question? Where's baseball fit in, and how has your future been changed because of this?
Thank you, Paul. So honestly, having everything happen so fast, I realized that I'm here for a career, and going to school, I need to, start working, and, baseball is over, and I now am working 40 hours a week full time in a career that I see myself working for, honestly, for the foreseeable future. So I am sad and, surprised that the season was over so quick, but I'm also thankful that it prepared me to just move on and just get going, because that's life. Things can happen so fast, and you just got to be ready to bounce back. So that's what I took from it.
Thanks, Max. Connor, where are you at with baseball in your career, and where's your future hold in terms of work?
So, career-wise, nothing's really changed. I was planning on doing grad school anyway. That hasn't changed. I'm enrolled online, and the class actually started last week. So I'm doing that at Capella University. Baseball, it's definitely, switched things up on me. I would have been playing baseball all summer had this not occurred. Would have finished the college season, then playing Sunday league ball with the guys and umpire in little league. There's been some stuff going on, not a whole lot. I got to play in a tournament with Ryan and Brian and Zach Boyer, Hunter Finke this summer. It was nice of them to invite me out for that. My team at home has played a couple of games. We've done a little bit of that, umpired some, and actually helped out with a youth league camp that happened last week. So baseball will always be a part of my life. I foresee myself umpiring more than coaching. I'm more of an on the field kind of guy. I don't want to deal with the admin and the parents. I don't want to have to deal with all of that. My dad did a lot of that, and I saw how annoying it could be growing up. So I consider myself an on the field guy. I'll teach you the skills. But I prefer more one-on-one. If I was got a kid, I'd want to focus more on them than the whole other team, all the other kids. So I enjoy umpiring more. Plus, you get paid for it, so that's always nice. But yeah, all in all, it's still relatively the same. I'm just playing a lot less baseball right now because of COVID. But hopefully, things start opening up again and life starts going back to normal. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But we'll see. So that's where I'm at right now.
And I didn't really share this, Connor, in the movie because I want this film to be sort of evergreen and not speculate. But there still is a part of an opportunity with the USCAA that could open the door to a potential another season for all of these gentlemen. So fingers crossed that happens. And of course, we'll keep you updated on that. I don't know that a decision's imminent, but hopefully next March you'll be back on the field with us, Connor.
Yeah, I'm thinking on it. I'm planning accordingly to make that happen. And it's all going to depend on transfer credits and all of that, but it's in the works. We'll see what happens.
Thank you. Christian, what are your thoughts about where baseball holds a part of you? I know that you sort of addressed that in the movie, but where do you think you've played your final game if you're not able to get another year of eligibility?
If I'm not able to get another year of eligibility, I would say yeah. Sadly, it happened very abruptly, but pretty much baseball in the future lies within my kids. I would love to coach. That'll always be an option, you know what I'm saying? So, but baseball, it's a tender topic. It happened 2 times in a row that my senior season was taken away from me. So from here on out, I'm gonna just let what God allows happen, and I'm gonna keep living on throughout my kids. So that's pretty much all I have to say on the topic.
While I have you, people have been asking, is there a silver lining in this season? I mean, obviously you kind of had your last season taken away from you and you walked off the field with pitching a dominant performance in your last game. Is there anything, what positive can you take away from this?
What positive I could take away from it is, so coming in my freshman season, I was pretty much at the top. We made it to the Small College World Series. I had a pretty down season my sophomore and junior season, but my senior season, it taught me a lot about family and just being one with the team, man. It was really like a deja vu situation when it came down to it. It felt like I was in the Small College World Series all over again, but I really wasn't there yet. I definitely see us and the team talking a lot more down the road. Like, just we created a bond that can't be broken, and I truly am grateful for being in this documentary, and this will actually seal that, and we'll be able to watch it forever. So I'll be able to remember the guys forever. I'm just truly.
Professor Reif asks to Max, You mentioned the coaching route. Is this something that you've been able to get started on that? Do you think that being a catcher might actually help you transition to be a coach?
It's a great question. As a catcher, I mean, I've been doing this for years. I've been a catcher 10 years at least in my life. I think I see the game in a different way, and I've always wanted to kind of coach. I don't know. I think this last season, like even before the season, I was like thinking like after this, like I want to coach. Like I want to have kids. I'm gonna want to be their coach, and I want to, in another world, be a teacher who can also coach their high school team or something. That's a goal for me. Like I've had talks with Stern, kind of seeing what I can do to possibly help. It's still in the future. It's undecided quite yet, but I definitely see myself coaching. I just want to be a help and just be around the guys. If I can't be on the field to win it with those guys, next year, at least let me be in the dugout cheering them on, just like we did all season. So that's just my mentality to it.
I think that you're going to have that opportunity. Hopefully you have another opportunity to play, but if not, I'm sure that you'll be in a dugout somewhere. I have just time for a couple of more questions because I do have a special surprise for everyone. But I do want to bring Brian, Tyler, and Parker up here. And I thank you so much to everybody else who've been answering questions and for writing in questions. But Brian, Parker, and Tyler, Brian has graduated. Tyler is in his final month, and Parker will be graduating by the end of the year. So my broadcast team are all going to be graduating. Now, I've invited them, if they so choose, to continue broadcasting games with us in the future as per their schedule allows. But that being said, obviously we heard from the players. I'm going to start with Brian. Brian, what did it mean to you to have that be your last game? Obviously, we hope you're back, but, you might get a big job somewhere. What does it mean that could have been the last game you ever called at Central Penn?
Well, yeah, like everyone said, it's very surprising, very upsetting. But I'm just glad that we were able to share this experience, all of us together, the players and everything. But yeah, definitely upsetting, and just can't wait for next season.
Appreciate it. Tyler, I want to go to you. Obviously, again, you've been invited back. I hope to get to be in the booth with you again. But, I mean, what did it mean to you when you found out about this, just knowing that we had a great number of games you and I had talked about, when they made the Small College World Series that we were going to go and call the games? What did it mean when you found out the season was canceled because of the pandemic?
Kind of the same thing that Brian said. I mean, it was disappointing to say the least. But, I remember when I first came to campus, and one of the first conversations I've had with you was, I wanted to get into broadcasting. I wanted to, be around the game of baseball. And I enjoyed every minute. And unfortunately, it ended the way that we wouldn't hope. But I just want to say every minute that I was in that broadcast booth with you, Brian, it was so much fun. Hopefully the guys can come back and play next season. That would be awesome as the sports term is, run it back and see how they could play next season. But it was unfortunate, and hopefully everything will work out.
I got to be honest, to follow that up, Tyler, it's a dream come true in my life that I get to, as a small part of my job, that I get to call baseball, and I got to spend time not only with the players, but with you three. I know that no matter where life takes us, we'll always be friends. And obviously we can't be friends till you graduate, but I know that we're always going to stay in touch. Parker, for you'd been around, but you really only had a chance to call a couple of games. You had like 8 more games scheduled after the season was canceled. What did it mean to you? You had so much opportunity coming for the rest of the season.
It was unfortunately heartbreaking to hear that the pandemic ruined the baseball season for all the guys, because they definitely did have a team that could take it somewhere and do something. Because with Coach Stern and great senior leaders like Max, Christian, and Connor, they built so great chemistry with their freshman players, like Hayden Fox being one of them, who had a great season on the mound. But from a broadcast standpoint, for someone like me who doesn't play sports but is a big athletic supporter of the game of baseball or any sport, And also to be able to be an accounting major to try to call baseball games, I absolutely love being in the booth calling games. And if my future allows it, I'm looking forward for next season to be calling games and just just keep up where I started.
If you're willing to come back, we're going to have you. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here tonight and sharing your thoughts. I do have a couple of other questions, so I just want to address them, and then I have a big surprise to share with everyone. Sarah asks about an alumni game. We're actually trying, and there might be something in the works about a softball game, alumni versus some of the faculty and staff. So I haven't heard too much about that, but that's something that has been talked about. So I certainly hope that we see that happen before it gets too cold to have that happen, and we'll certainly let you know. Dean Lipschitz asks what was the most enjoyable part about the directing process, and am I planning on creating some works in the future? Well, I'll answer that second part in just a moment. It was enjoyable because this was a story that I felt needed to be told. There are so many stories around us that need to be told, and to be honest with you, one of the hardest things for me was to know that, look, Central Penn, is a school in central Pennsylvania in the USCAA conference. And I told this story, but imagine how many other hundreds of thousands or millions of people had something very similar to this happen to them. And I think that was part of what I wanted to bring up here, that yes, this happened to Central Penn, but this happened to so many athletes across our country, across a wide variety of sports, that I just kind of want people to understand how much sports really truly mean to people. And it was just so sad on this level, but nationwide, the level of amount of people who really were impacted by this. So really the most enjoyable thing was to be able to share this story, a story that needed told. And frankly, if I didn't tell it, it wouldn't have been told. So I think that was the most important thing. So I'm going to answer 3 questions here as we move to the conclusion. I don't want to keep anybody for too long. Am I going to create works in the future? Yes, I am still going to work, and I'm going to continue working on this project. How much footage did I shoot for the film? Between the games themselves, which we shot obviously ahead of all of this, and the actual footage of interviews that I shot, I would say the number of interviews I shot was about 8 to 10 hours of B-roll and drone footage and that side, about 8 to 10 hours of interview and B-roll. And then of course I had all the game footage as well, which is probably another 25 hours. So, there's about 30 hours of film for me to look through. And is there any behind the scenes footage from Roxanne? As a matter of fact, there is. So I'm going to end today by sharing with you something that I've been trying to keep somewhat of a secret. Because I have so much footage, I didn't want that to be it. I have so much footage that I am announcing tonight that I'm going to be doing a 4-part web series called Extra Innings that will feature some of the B-roll and some of the interview footage on particular subjects. So each episode is going to have a theme. So for the premiere tonight, I would like to show the first episode of Extra Innings. I ask everybody to tell me who they thought their MVP was. I had to put everyone on the spot. This has a little bit different of a feel to it, but I think that you're really going to like it. This is episode 1. I'm going to be coming out with episodes every couple weeks throughout the beginning of October. And at the end, I'm going to share an article with you that announces the dates, my YouTube channel, and is going to have all of these clips up there so you can access them at any time. So without further ado, my 2-minute Extra Innings clip. I hope you all enjoy it.
I can't pick one.
You have to. Oh, throw a curveball at me there, Professor Miller.
There's one name that sticks out to me most just because it's the name that I always harp on, and it's Connor Graham.
I'm gonna go with Freddie Barr.
All right, most valuable, I think it's Fulp.
I'm going Connor Graham. I'm gonna have to give it to Hayden.
I'm gonna go with Chris Rosario.
If you're looking at just stats, you have to throw out Connor Graham.
Connor Graham. I'm gonna give it to him just because he's a classic guy. He's a great baseball player and an even a better student.
I think it's Fulp because he's the vocal leader of the team. He's always someone who busts his butt, and he wouldn't ask someone to do something that he wouldn't do himself.
Saying that a guy going from just a normal player to being like a player coach, and Coach Stern brought it up that how he sacrificed going into a game to put a younger person in.
And I only say this because in the 3 games he pitched, he was dominating. He gave us 3 great games, and I'm so excited for next year for him. Just, he's only a freshman, and he's already playing at a level that is above so many people.
But as a coach, and my background in coaching, I have to say Christian Fulp. I think, hearing him on the sidelines, I've heard so many compliments about him from his teammates about how he just lifts people up. That's more important to me than what you can actually do on the field. When you have that ability to be a natural leader, you have that ability to really uplift your teammates and bring out the best in everybody else around you. That's what team sports are about.
So I just posted in the chat, and you can always go to nightly blogs.centralpenn.edu/nightly news, and you can find all of these are there today. If you would like to watch them again, cast them to your television. Also has the dates of when the next 3 episodes of Extra Innings will be out. So I am going to continue this. I do hope to work on future projects. But hopefully, as my professor said, hopefully next time I get paid to do those projects instead of having to do them for a classroom assignment. So I have to tell you honestly, thank you so much to everyone for being here. It truly means the world. I really wish we could have been in the Capitol Blue Cross Theater for me to premiere this movie, but I got to tell you, this was a great time, and special thank you to everyone. But especially Adrian Thoman, who is such a big proponent of doing this and being such a huge help. And of course, I'd like to introduce Theater Director Janet Bixler to tell you a little bit more about what will be coming up in the Capitol Blue Cross Theater. But for me, that's going to do it for myself and the rest of the gang. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And I hope that you continue watching the final out and keep tuning back in for Extra Innings.